Good evening and welcome to another edition of Tigers Roar TV. I'm Tommy Chrysan on Pelican Sports TV, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans, and streaming on the internet at pelicansportstv.com. Had some Facebook comments, people wanting to know about it being online. I appeared on the radio on Southern Sports tonight at 4:30 in the Florida Panhandle in Lower Alabama. A lot of folks over there online at pelicansportstv.com. We appreciate you each and every Wednesday night with our live program from 8 until 10 p.m. That's each and every Wednesday night, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, New Orleans. If you've got us on a Thursday, Friday, or a Saturday on one of the many other stations and outlets that picks up Tigers Roar, we appreciate you being tuned in. This all gets rolling each and every Wednesday. A lot happening in the world of LSU, and I'm joined by the co-host of Tigers Roar, Chris Landry, NFL scout and Fox Sports football analyst. Chris, good evening to you.
Good evening, Tommy. Good to be with you as always.
Chris, I always tend to make calendar references, and here we are on a Wednesday night, the last one in October edition that we'll have of Tigers Roar, and LSU and Alabama are both 8-0, 5-0 in conference play. The big matchup in Tuscaloosa a week from Saturday. I mean, the hype for this game is just growing like crazy. I talked to Jacques Doucette at WAFB, a CBS affiliate here in Baton Rouge, and they're sending him over there Tuesday. They've never sent a guy over for 5 days early for a college football game. A lot of hype, and I know you, with all of your national work amongst the local work, it's hard to stay away from LSU, Alabama.
You know, it's been building more so than normal, and I think it's the quality of both LSU and Alabama's team. And then, you know, the SEC being down by its standards, you could see the tests that potentially could come in a normal year from a Florida, from a Tennessee, from an Auburn, maybe even from a Kentucky. It just were not there. It was just almost a formality, but you got to get through it. Well, now we're here, and we got the bye week. Both teams have a bye week, and there's no question that everything is setting up 1 versus 2 in the illustrious history of the SEC. In the illustrious history of 1 versus 2 games, we've never had a 1 versus 2 national game inside the SEC. This is a new charter territory. So no question, a lot on the line. You don't want to look past it, but whoever wins it, don't want to assume anything, I should say, not look past it. But, you know, certainly much is going to be expected from the winner. SEC championship potentially, and berth in the championship game first, and the SEC championship, and a berth in the national championship game. So everything that's at stake is going to be there November 5th in Tuscaloosa.
And as everyone knows by now, the game was moved to prime time. CBS had to do a little wheeling and dealing with ESPN, the Versus Network, and about a four-headed monster figured that deal out. Part of the deal was, according to Coach Joe Oliva, the AD at LSU, that the next year, the 2012 Alabama-LSU contest in Baton Rouge would be played at night. We all know Coach Oliva sent a letter to the fans. For the first time in 70-something years, no conference night home game for LSU. The remaining conference game at home is Arkansas, and that's a 1:30 kickoff day after Thanksgiving. So a lot of wheeling and dealing to push this to prime time, and I'm sure CBS has paid a pretty penny. Not that they don't have it. And ESPN's probably, got a few players to be named later, so to speak, where when they pick the phone up at some point in the future and say, hey, CBS, we need a little favor. And you remember what we did for you guys on the LSU-Alabama game? It'll all work out. But in a way, for the benefit of the fans nationwide, not just LSU fans and Alabama fans, but nationwide, it'll be prime time, and the whole nation will spend the whole day waiting for a 7 o'clock kickoff.
No question, and it'll be interesting to see. I would imagine that ESPN would get that game next year in prime time. I would assume that they wouldn't allow CBS to double dip, although you never know the details of it. But yeah, I think it certainly was a good move by Joe Oliva to get that game secured next year. Because the reality is we'll be talking about a lot of 2:30 games next year as well, as LSU certainly going to have a good team. But it's been a great season thus far. We're getting down towards the stretch run. We had a couple of upsets in college football. We'll kind of get into what that means for the BCS, for the potential loser of the LSU-Alabama game going forward. But a lot of football left. It only starts with LSU-Alabama, but some good games this weekend. And then after, not only the 5th, but in the next 2 or 3 weeks after, going to really decide where this whole BCS is headed.
And for all the LSU and Alabama fans, I would think you haven't missed this story, but Spencer Ware, Darrell Simon, and Tyrann Mathieu back at practice on Tuesday. Les Miles met with the media. He played the word game a little bit. They're back. They're expected to play. I would think all fans have been paying attention to every story every day out of Tuscaloosa and Baton Rouge. But those guys are back, so we do know that. On tonight's program, we will have a quick recap of the LSU dominating victory over Auburn. We'll talk a little bit about Alabama, the open date on the schedule, and what these teams are doing. We'll get Chris's expert analysis on that. Tonight, with the open date on the football schedule, as we did last year on Tigers Roar at this point in the season, we'll start bouncing the basketball a little bit. Got an interview that I've taped with Coach Trent Johnson and the men's basketball team at LSU. We got some clips from him from Media Day as well as some stuff I did in his office. Then we'll also speak to first-year Lady Tiger basketball coach Nikki Caldwell. I was in her office today, a dynamic, intelligent, articulate person. I was very impressed with Coach Caldwell in her office today. Taping an interview, we'll get some of that, as well as some stuff from her Media Day. We'll take our weekly run through the athletic department, including a baseball update, fall baseball going on. We'll get Ronnie Rance of Sports Shorts TV and Sports Shorts Radio to update us on that and to run through the athletic department. We'll also hear from Brian Lazar of TigerBait.com, and we'll get Chris going into the LSU-Alabama matchup, which, again, is a week from Saturday. But obviously the magnitude of this game, as Chris said, the SEC has not seen this before, and very rarely has it happened. Nebraska, Oklahoma in 71 were 1-2.
It's happened a few times in Miami, Florida State, but Nebraska, Oklahoma has done it a couple of times. Most notably, probably the greatest game ever was 1971 Thanksgiving Day game, Nebraska, Oklahoma, 35-31. Johnny Rogers.
Did you hear Nick Saban's answer to a question on that? He was asked today.
Oh.
He said, they were talking about 1 and 2 matchup, game of the century, all the little cliches. And as you know, Nick Saban's not into cliches and all that. And they asked him, said, Coach, do you remember the matchup between Oklahoma and Nebraska in 1971? You know what his answer was?
No.
The only thing I remember about 1971 is the year I got married. So he kind of said, as you who know him, and I've seen him when he was in Baton Rouge, that was a typical Nick Saban
I tell you
answer.
another one that was really big is 1967, maybe off a year. I think it's 67. USC-UCLA, the #1 ranking in the country, the Pac-10 title, and the Heisman Trophy, Gary Beeman and O.J. Simpson. So it was probably 67, 68. All were on the line in that game. That was a big one. That was a really big one. But this, in the BCS era, is as big as it gets, and obviously for the two best teams, which appear to me, in these eyes, the two best teams in the country, certainly everything at stake. It doesn't guarantee the conference championship. Alabama still has Auburn. LSU still has Arkansas. A lot of work left to be done. But clearly these two teams have separated themselves from the other teams in the SEC. So let the fun begin, I guess.
And we remind you, Pelican Sports TV, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, New Orleans, known for the outdoors programming, the hunting, the fishing, and, of course, a mixture of Tigers Roar. Post-game show, which will be on WJBO and Pelican Sports TV immediately following that LSU-Alabama game at about 10:30 on the night of the 5th. And, of course, we have Pelican Sports Radio Monday through Fridays from 3 to 4 p.m. with Chris Landry and me, Tommy Chrysan, your phone calls. And we like to mix it up every weekday afternoon from 3 to 4 p.m. on the Score 1210 a.m. and the Score1210.com. Also, on that same station, the Score 1210 a.m. in Baton Rouge, the Score1210.com, each and every Thursday is the weekly edition of the Chris Landry Show, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, 1 hour where it's football all year round, college or pro. Chris, give everybody a hint of what's on this week's edition of the Chris Landry Show.
I'm going to go down, and we'll get into some of it tonight, but it's real detailed. Did a very in-depth statistical breakdown, LSU, Alabama. We're going to break down that game so much next week. I started looking at everything I wanted to address that I needed 2 weeks. I needed 2 weeks to break it down. So we're going to go through that statistical breakdown, how these teams rank and stack up nationally and how similar they are in some surprising areas. We're going to get into that. We're going to look at the kind of LSU at this point, their offensive look, personnel groupings, kind of how they are, tell you what formation they've been in most this year. Top college football games around the country. Got Stanford, USC, Clemson, Georgia Tech. A few others want to get into that. Certainly always talk about the NFL. We'll get into the Saints matchup this week, as well as some of the other key matchups. All the latest conference realignment, BCS stuff, we'll have it for you in the football hour.
Well, like we said on radio today, this conference realignment stuff's getting a little annoying.
It is.
It's like Brett Favre. It's like NFL lockout. It's like, okay, we've heard enough. like I said on the radio today, Chris, send me an email when you've decided something.
Well,
that this team is here or this team is there. That's the point I'm at.
Let me give the latest, because by the time you watch this on tape, and we do encourage you to watch it on tape after you watch it live, this will change. So I just want to tell you now.
Qualifier.
West Virginia folks now believe they've been left at the altar. It looks like a famous Kentucky senators made a push to get Louisville in the Big 12. So stay tuned. This changes not by day, it changes hourly. But it appears like West Virginia, all the rumors were that Louisville was going to be, what I'd heard, that Louisville will be the team that will join the Big 12. But in the last 24, 48 hours, it looked like West Virginia was gone. To the point where they were talking about, yes, they were get offered, yes, I do, and you say I do's and all that. Looks like they feel like they're being left at the altar, literally, and that's a tough spot because the Big East is dying. They want to get into the SEC, does West Virginia. They don't have an offer there. They thought they had an offer. It looked like they had one, a quiet one. Now it's a tough deal.
Is that when it got to, like, if there's anybody in the audience that wants to speak, speak now, forever hold your peace. And somebody spoke up, and
Senator from Kentucky
and now we have a delay.
Yeah, we got a delay. It is really, and I mentioned it. It is annoying. It's really aggravating. But as I mentioned on radio today, it isn't. If you're into such things, if you want to get an idea of the political machinations that are involved in this type of process, when you get the university presidents that are involved and politicians involved with big-time moves like this, coaches and athletic directors are not invited to this party. These are other people. It's really amazing the ebb and flow of everything. Still don't have an official Missouri to the SEC, but everything's there. It looks like they're saying I do, but you know. I don't know. Stay tuned, but that's where it's looking at this point. We shall see how it all plays out.
Well, and also you can keep up with us in the world of social media. Find us on Facebook. The Facebook page is Pelican Broadcasting. It's a great way to keep up with Pelican Sports TV and Pelican Sports Radio, a way for you to contact us. We got the YouTube page, which we put clips up from this show and other activities of the Pelican Broadcasting team, TV or radio. The Twitter account at Pelican Sports. We've got all of that there. We're right there with you. You can find us, and we appreciate you spreading the roar about this program, Tigers Roar. We'll air in New Orleans on Friday at 5 p.m. on WHNO TV 20 out of New Orleans. That covers the North Shore. All your friends in St. Tammany and Tangipahoa and Washington Parish, everybody down in the Bayou and Lafourche Parish and Terrebonne Parish, Mississippi Gulf Coast. Fridays at 5 p.m. Tell your friends, your family, your teammates, your classmates, whatever it is. That's how they can catch a replay of this Wednesday night broadcast of Tigers Roar. When we come back, we'll do a quick recap of the Auburn game, tell you about a couple of LSU players that got some awards bestowed upon them by the Southeastern Conference. Start getting you ready for Bama. Still to come, a lot of basketball stuff, run through the LSU athletic department, and a whole lot more. With NFL scout and Fox Sports football analyst Chris Landry, I am Tommy Krysan, and you're watching Tigers Roar right here on Pelican Sports TV.
This is Mo Isom of the LSU women's soccer team, and you're watching Pelican Sports TV.
Hi, I'm attorney Kerry Bryson. My law firm focuses specifically on helping people try to solve their IRS tax problems. Lately, so many new out-of-state companies are popping up claiming that if you send them money, they can resolve your IRS problems. Well, what happens if they don't? Do you hire an attorney? Maybe you should start with a local attorney that's already handled hundreds of IRS cases right here in Louisiana. When you hire the Bryson Law Firm, you won't be speaking long distance or sending money to some out-of-town high-pressure salesman. You'll meet with us in person at our office right here in Baton Rouge. Your first visit is completely free and confidential, and we'll tell you on the spot exactly how much it'll cost. So if you're hiring a company to resolve your IRS wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, check their reputation first, then call me, Kerry Bryson, or go to BrysonLawFirm.com. If you're a Louisiana resident and you have an IRS problem, hire a Louisiana attorney, Kerry Bryson.
Please join the Baton Rouge International School, offering an international academic program from preschool through 12th grade, for an open house Saturday, October 29th, 3 to 5 p.m. Information at brintl.com or call 293-4338.
Hello, my name is Debbie. Welcome to Debbie's Bridal, a formal affair.
Come see the many great lines we carry in bridal, bridesmaids,
mothers, flower girls, tuxes, and more. We also carry over 25 top designer lines in debutante gowns, Mardi Gras, pageant, and prom. Come meet me and my staff with over 30 years of bridal and pageant experience. Debbie's Bridal, a formal affair, Burnside and Gonzales, where service matters.
The family dental practice of Dr. Farrell Fruget Jr. and our highly trained staff are dedicated to providing care and treatment to our patients of all ages in all aspects of dental care. 23 years of experience and advanced training in cosmetic and restorative dentistry, TMJ, and treatment of snoring and sleep apnea allows Dr. Fruget to assist you in achieving the best in dental health. Call us today at 292-9700 to schedule your initial evaluation, because we know how to make you smile.
We continue with Tigers Roar here on Pelican Sports TV, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans, and streaming on the internet at PelicanSportsTV.com. Chris, let's talk quickly about the dominating victory. I heard Coach Miles on his radio show briefly tonight while I was in transit to the studios of the Pelican. He said it was a dominant victory, and that's about the word that fits. They were better than Auburn in all phases of the game for all 60 minutes.
Yeah, and you know, really Auburn did a pretty nice job early and was in the game for a little bit, like we've talked about. Like, the game plan, taking the opponent's game plan, they kind of did what they needed early. I thought the game turned. If there was a turning point, you had a key play, made a good defensive play. LSU made a mistake, then they get a penalty, personal foul penalty, to get LSU a cheap first down. And after that, then it went to 14-3, and then it was 7-3 at the time they were in the game. But you're right, as the game went along, LSU just imposed their will, ran the football right at Auburn's defensive front. That struggled, played better lately, but it struggled for the most part this year defending the run. LSU was able to run the football and make some plays in the passing game once they got those linebackers biting up against the run. It's been a methodical butt whipping most of the year that LSU's put on opponents, and Auburn was just the next one in line to get it.
You know, and Chris, I can go back for 3 weeks now. I can go back to the Florida game, the Tennessee game, and the Auburn game. And you know, by halftime, if not before, you know, to the objective person watching the game, it was clear who the better football team was, and it was clear that the Florida, Tennessee, and Auburn teams weren't going to come out on top regardless of what adjustments were made at halftime. I know most of that credit has to go to LSU and what they're doing offensively, defensively, and special teams. And as you said, some of these teams in the Southeastern Conference are down. You know, and all three of them teams went in with odd quarterback situations, new guys, unproven guys, guys with lack of experience. So that factored into it as well. You weren't going against Geno Smith of West Virginia, who threw for all kind of yards. So that was it. But you know, we used to talk last year how it was painful to watch LSU.
Sure.
You didn't know when was the wheel going to come off the rim, or when was the oil going to start leaking. You just waited, but now you're just saying, okay, this is a better team. They're better on paper, and now they're better on the field. Yeah,
last year's team obviously had so many challenges on offense. Quite frankly, they were not very good. There were games that could have gone either way, and it could have been a 4-loss season or a 2 just as easy as a 2-loss season. They found the ways to win games. This year, you know, I get this a lot, Tommy, that, this LSU team is great, this Alabama team is great. Then I get, I don't know how good they are. The SEC is bad. Well, the reality is this. LSU and Alabama are that good, and the teams in the SEC are not very good. It's both. It's not either or. And listen, if most of these teams, which typically Florida, Auburn, Tennessee, maybe normally top 10, top 15 type teams in the country, if they had those type of teams with veteran quarterbacks, we wouldn't see quite the decisive victory that LSU and Alabama are putting against these teams. But it might be 10-point, it might be 14-point, but the reality is those teams really can't match up. And then the LSU and Alabama, particularly in the second half, you look at the performances, it's just ridiculous. If you gave points for yards for opponents against Alabama and LSU, they still couldn't win the game. If you gave points for first downs, it wouldn't be enough.
Chris, neither you nor I are going to be on the cover of GQ magazine anytime soon. However, I really like that white uniform with the white hat all the way down to the white shoes. What your thoughts on the uniform? Your fashion critique?
Well, you know, I'm the last one.
I said neither one of us is going to be on GQ magazine.
You know, I think I think one of the things, and of course people, I think, appreciate the fact that there is some sense of history to the throwback part of it. It's not the new wave like some of the teams are doing to try to create a little bit of a different image. I think certain programs, and LSU is one of them, has that tradition. And I think it's fine for once a year to maybe have some throwback, because the reality is some of these uniforms, LSU's uniforms have changed over the years.
Right.
So I think going back, I think it would be fine to have, for example, a throwback with the numbers on it one time, or the old LSU logo in future years. I think it's good for players and younger members of the fan base to be attached to the history of LSU. So I think anytime you can do that, the players love it.
Yeah,
and that's important, and it is about the players. It's not always about, hey, the fans getting what they want.
It's also a little bit about the almighty dollar bill too, because this is a
sure.
Nike thing.
Absolutely.
Nike gives LSU
of course it
a
is.
boatload of money and product, from uniforms to coaches' shirts to shoes and cleats, and they take care of some other sports as well. So nonetheless, I wanted to. Here are some comments from some of the LSU players after the ball game, after they had the dominating victory against Auburn in Tiger Stadium, yet another afternoon game, as we know. It was 45-10, and here's some of those players talking about the victory over Auburn.
All of our guys, we all play for each other.
Boy, I need
Offense
some
plays for
volume.
defense, defense plays for offense. We play for special teams, so it's a group effort. It takes all of us. So, we had a lot of guys make plays tonight, offense, defense, and special teams. So we just get fired up, and I thought the crowd did a great job. It was a great atmosphere tonight, and we just made some big plays and got fired up. Ruben, just that was all him. He just ran by the guy. He separated real well and caught it and got in the end zone, and so it was just a great route by him. It's good protection too by the offensive line, and it was just overall a great play.
We deep at running back. We have Terrence McGee, Micah Ford, Alpha Blue. We also have Spencer Will, Jacorico. Anybody of those guys can come in and make a play. So this week was my turn to go in, and I made a play, and I played my best, and I did what I had to do.
You never know when your name may be called, whether it's injury or, something may happen, or you just always got to come in and prepare hard the week prior, and, when your name's called, make the most of that opportunity, and we've got guys that do that.
Just continue to build off of each week, we find some way to get better, and, this week we got a lot of sacks. Somewhere we haven't been, as of late, we haven't had a lot of sacks, but we just find a way to keep getting better, and we just find a way to keep winning, and, we're doing it pretty dominantly, and, that's just all we can do.
I want to give the thanks to the O-line for blocking real good. I just want to give thanks to God. Without him, nothing's possible. I prepared myself all week, and Coach Frank told me that just get ready. Spence went down, and so I just got ready to prepare myself, and I had a good week this week.
There's a couple of players, including Kenny Hilliard, who had a really nice game. The big freshman running back. I saw some tape of him at Patterson High, and he was a little thick. He's thicker now. But it almost looks more like fullback than tailback, huh?
Well, it's still, but don't mention fullback.
Okay.
Les has learned the term big back.
Big back. Okay, I like that big back.
That big back.
Let's take a look at the stat recap on Auburn and LSU. As you look at it, of course, the score was totally dominated, and the statistics reflect domination from first downs. Time of possession was pretty even. LSU's got to like only having 5 penalties for 60 yards. Third down efficiency was pretty good. Passing, running, they ran the football like they wanted to, but the stat that jumps off there, as it has done since the Mississippi State game, the last LSU turnover came in the fourth quarter against Mississippi State. They have not turned the football over since then. Chris, have you ever seen anything like it? I mean, that might be why you're 8-0 ranked number 1, but that a team could play that many consecutive football games without a turnover.
No, it's really, it's certainly a product of the offense being very risk averse, but I don't care. That's still pretty impressive. You're able to protect the football, and I think it's also an indication of how they bought into this offense. And we're not going to force the ball. We're going to take our chances, and it's also a byproduct of the fact that games are not close. They can be patient. You don't have to go out and make the big play. You can just line up, play what I call big boy football, the line of scrimmage, put the big pants on, play, and then eventually they're going to have to overplay the run. That's when you're going to get the right coverage matchup. It's a byproduct of them being very efficient and defenses not being able to generate enough pressure, enough physicality at the line of scrimmage versus the run. And they don't put LSU in chances where they need to take chances. And that's a big part of it. And of course, we all know it's the opposite. When LSU gets the lead, their defense can ratchet up the pressure against opposition's offense.
A couple of LSU football players received some accolades from the Southeastern Conference. First up, it was Kiki Mingo, who was the Southeastern Conference Defensive Lineman of the Week. 4 tackles, 2 sacks in the game against Auburn. He leads the Tigers with 7.5 tackles for loss and 4 sacks. Kiki Mingo, not even a starter. This guy is turning into a very good football player.
Well, he's a good nickel rusher. He's got great speed off the edge. He's very tough to block. He really causes a lot of problems in pass rush situations. Line him out in the wide 5-7 technique at times, and pin his ears back and get after the quarterback. He's really shows great closes. We see right there to the football, and that pressure is part of what they're able to provide. Inside the defensive ends, really against the run, have been outstanding. But Mingo is certainly an outstanding elite pass rusher.
And he's 2 things that all coaches like. He's big and he's fast.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And he's really, really fast. He jumps out like he's in the starting blocks in the track meet.
You know, he might be one of them guys, and you know far more about evaluating football players than I, where he might be really quick in that 10-yard dash or the first couple of steps. His 40-yard time might not set any records, but he's got explosive. I remember John Madden talking about he doesn't need a lineman to run a 40-yard dash. If a lineman ever has to run 40 yards during the game, then you probably got a problem. Okay, Kiki Mingo appears to have that quick 2-3 steps, that ability that when he makes a read, as he did on a couple of them sacks, all of a sudden he just explodes right at the offensive play.
He really does. He finishes well, which all good pass rushers have to do. I think even when he learns pass rush moves and he learns to counter that move better, I think he can even be much more lethal, because not college linemen, but even at the next level, can sit on the speed rush. Once he's able to develop that counter move a little more effectively, crossover move when he can cross the face of that tackle, then he'll be really tough, because then you got a shorter corner to the quarterback, and that's really dangerous.
The LSU had another player recognized. This was the Southeastern Conference Special Teams Player of the Week. Brad Wing with 4 punts for over a 51-yard average, all down inside the 20-yard line, which may be the key thing there, even with the 56-yard long punt. Brad Wing has continued. He had a little injury, missed a game a little earlier in the season, but he has continued to be a weapon and a critical factor for this football team, punting the football, and the SEC recognized that this week.
There is no doubt about it. For a field position team that, again, is not going to take a lot of chances, dominate the game at the line of scrimmage, play field position football, this guy is helping them flip the field big time. We're talking 15 to 18 yards of difference every time the opposition punts the LSU. LSU gets it, 3 plays punts. Opposition, 3 plays punts. It's a 15 to 18 yard advantage. Now think about that. If you got a 15-yard play from the line of scrimmage, that's pretty impressive. Everybody's jumping up, losing their popcorn and cheering. When you change possessions and you get a plus 15, really was plus 17.5, 18 yards difference of field position every time this guy punts, that's really impressive. I don't think it's an exaggeration that if as we look ahead to next week, and we'll get into more next week, the difference-making type players in a game like against LSU and Alabama is probably a guy like Brad Wing. I mean, Cole Mandel's a good punter. This guy's a great one. In a field position game where you need to force the opposition's offense to go the length of the field, I think LSU's got a real weapon. He may be the most valuable player, or certainly the biggest weapon that could be the difference-making weapon in that game against Alabama.
Yeah, and he had 4 punts down inside the 20, and when you can make the other team have to go 85, 90, or 95 yards consistently and repeat that, that puts a lot of additional pressure on that offense, and it sets the defense up to be in the attack mode instead of the defend mode.
Let me just put this in perspective as it goes to next week. If LSU is not able to score points early, but they are just able to punt the football to the tune of 4 times inside the 20. It's going to be tough for Alabama to beat LSU. I mean, because if you consistently have to go that length of the field, that amount of times, it would be very difficult. So, I mean, I don't know how it's going to play out. Turnovers, how you're able to get first downs, all that. But if you can win that field position battle, that is a huge advantage. We talk about hidden yardage all the time. That's where LSU is winning it. And it's not showing up as much in a game where you win decisively, but in a game like that I think potentially could be really close. We don't know. Anything can happen. Really close, LSU, Alabama. It's these type of things that are going to be big.
All right, we've officially moved Tigers Roar into Alabama preparation time. We've done recapping Auburn and Players of the Week, and it's all about LSU and Alabama a week from Saturday, 7 o'clock kickoff, prime time in Tuscaloosa. Their stadium holds over 100,000 people now.
Yes.
They made in some additions to it. It will be a tough ticket. Usually you can get a ticket to most sports events most times, but this one will be very, very tough. Or if you want to get a ticket online and some of those different services, you're going to have to get your wallet out and pay for it a little bit. Here are some comments from Coach Miles and some of the players talking about the Alabama game and the week off, and then we're going to get Chris Landry's input on a question that I asked him on the radio about this extra week of preparation for both teams, not just for LSU. But here first, Coach Miles and the players.
To be honest with you, we're really looking at technique work that is really day to day in games. And we need to kind of brush up some of those techniques, and we did it in special teams and in certain return units and some of the things that we need to do there, and offense and defense. So
we'll come out and get prepared and get ready for Alabama. We know Alabama is a great team as well, and we're going to take these all days to watch film on them and do what we have to do to come out, try to get a win.
Resting our bodies, but we're going to prepare hard for these guys.
Excited about getting to play Alabama. They're a great squad. Coach Saban has done a good job getting that team ready this season. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's been nicknamed a couple of things, Armageddon, the Clash of the Titans, things like that. So I'm just looking forward to it.
It's going to be a huge game. We got another week to prepare for them because they're that good. So we're going to have to bring our A game for sure. Preparation is going to be key, and they're a good ball club. So we're going to have to bring it and prepare hard.
Well, I don't know that that's right or wrong. The only thing I can tell you is it's honest. I think our guys enjoy playing. They're excited to play. It's I think it's been a couple of weeks that there's something laying in the back of the accomplishment of this team that allowed them to get to these days, allowed them to start looking at the next opponent. So I think there's a lot of enthusiasm around here for learning and going to practice and coaching, and for me to deny it is just something I can't do.
We continue with Tigers Roar. Chris Landry, I got a question for you. I asked this on radio. We know not everybody hears radio every day that also watches this, so I'm going to repeat the question. And for those of you diehards that listen to us every day, just bear with us. LSU and Alabama both have open date on the schedule. That was by design. Are either of these coaching staffs, and mainly LSU, obviously, this is Tigers Roar, doing anything different in the first week of the 2 week of preparations as opposed to if you had an open date against a Western Kentucky or Alabama played North Texas or whatever, you didn't have the magnitude and significance of a 1-2 game and so much riding on conference title and potential BCS game. Are these coaching staffs maybe whispering a little bit louder? I know they don't want to peak too early, but
right.
Are they maybe doing a few things differently because of the magnitude of the game?
Well, let's back up, because I think the first thing you do in a bye week, you have a little more time to focus on getting guys healthy. That's positive. You're going to try to get guys healthy anyway in the normal week, but you have more time in which to get guys more rehab. You spend a little more time in the weight room too, maintaining your strength, because you're not going to hit. So you want to maintain, and then you give your body maximum rest time. Then the biggest thing you have time to do in a bye week as a coaching staff, you self-scout. Just like you scout an opponent and you put all the tendencies, you break down all the film, and then you come up with all the tendencies. What is their base formation on first downs? What's their base formation in third and short? What's their base formation third and long? Base formation, personnel grouping, and what are they most likely to run? Well, you do the same thing for your team. Self-scout is what you do. And then what you try to do is prepare to break those tendencies. So if you're in 21 personnel and, you run to the A-gap, 80% of the time, in first down situations, you may want to back that down to 60% and adjust that, do something a little different. So you just break tendencies. You don't change what you do, you just when you do it and how you do it and how you cloak it in terms of disguise. The other thing you can do is you got a little more time to really drill down into your opponent, a very difficult opponent that they've in the early. If you got an open date early, you don't have as many games. You got a lot of games. You can even break down more film, and then yes. But I think it's what you do with your team, break your tendencies, because you know what you break down, how you would prepare to play you. So you're going to try to break those tendencies. That's the biggest thing you try to do with the extra time. And as you mentioned, you start to begin to put things in practice for Alabama, but you don't put it in as if the game were this weekend and then you redo it next week. It just, your team is ready to play by Thursday. Well, your team can't be peaking on Thursday. It's got to peak next Saturday. So I think that's how it gives you more preparation time, but you kind of break that in easy, and you don't have to throw as much as often. You could break it into little segments, just like in school. If you're able to break it down a little bit, until where you can really got some extra time to really drill down and to prepare for different looks that you're going to have in all three facets against your opponent.
Does it help the fact that both Les Miles and Nick Saban in recent years both prepared for a BCS championship game when they had much more than 2 weeks, some 30 days or even more in some cases, or roughly 30 days now that I'm thinking about it. Does it help that they've been through that routine where they know we can't peak the wrong day? We got to be, in this case, peaking on Saturday night at 7 o'clock when the game kicks off. That's got to be a help to both staffs to know that patience, take a step at a time, that I'm sure they both had a plan ready to go come Sunday morning when they both completed their games. Saturday, LSU's win over Auburn, Alabama's win over Tennessee. They had a plan ready to go. They didn't start this plan Sunday morning. They had it ready to go, and it was well thought out, and it's been well prepared.
I think anytime you play in bowl games, you have an idea how to prepare. Most everybody has an open date, so you have that plan. I think what you're referring to is the fact that you got an open date, and oh, by the way, you got Alabama. Alabama's got LSU. After that open date, I think the fact that you play in big games, BCS type games, championship games, it's a help more in this regard. This has a BCS national championship game type feel to it, doesn't it? It has a Super Bowl-ish feel. I think all the hype and everything surrounding it, that experience of playing in the BCS championship, dealing with all the extra things that goes along. For example, at Alabama, the game's in Tuscaloosa. You want to get all the ticket stuff, you'll tell your kids, get all your ticket stuff by Thursday of this week, and so you don't have to deal with it next week. Okay? Family, extra people want to come in, players get tickets if you don't know out there. So it's those type of clerical, administrative things you have to deal with. On the road, you made road trips. I think you got to deal with the extra exposure you're going to get. My understanding, it's just going to be a zoo in Tuscaloosa all week. It's going to be more of a distraction for them to deal with, but trust me, Nick Saban does the best job of focusing anybody. I think with LSU, it's going to be more like a road trip, but they're going to have to deal with more interviews, more requests, more things, but they've got extra time to deal with it. So I think the experience of BCS bowl games helps them deal with the scrutiny of, hey, this is a big-time game with big-time, ramifications.
We're going to have our Bryson stat of the week for you. It's brought to you by attorney Kerry Bryson, who's got offices in Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans. BrysonLawFirm.com, big sponsor of Pelican Sports Radio and Tigers Roar and our post-game show. LSU and Georgia are the only SEC teams to score first in every game they have played this season. That's an amazing stat. Of course, LSU's record a little better than Georgia, although Georgia's putting themselves in a good spot in the East. They'll play Florida this week over in Jacksonville. That stat of the week brought to you by the Bryson Law Firm. If you have any IRS or tax problem issues, the first visit is free. They'll tell you how much it's going to cost, and you'll know what it'll cost you to get your problem resolved by calling Kerry Bryson at the Bryson Law Firm, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans, or go to brysonlawfirm.com. Still to come on tonight's program, we'll have our weekly run through the LSU athletic department. We got women's basketball with first-year coach Nikki Caldwell, and up next when we return, it's men's basketball and Coach Trent Johnson. With Chris Landry, I'm Tommy Kreisand. This is Tigers Roar on Pelican Sports TV.
Hi, I'm Joe Horn, and you're watching Pelican Sports TV.
BetterBatonRougeJobs.com has been extremely beneficial for the Team Automotive Group. And what stands out to us, it's easy to use, not only for us, but it's easy for the applicants. And it's the quality of applicants that we get. It's timely. We post something in the morning. By that afternoon, we have double-digit applicants. And again, it's the quality of the applicants.
Employers, now is a great time to hire, recruit, and look for potential new employees.
BetterBatonRougeJobs.com. It's free for job seekers and great for business.
You're on the same flight.
We'll be on the same plane,
Yeah,
regardless.
what we should work. Anything together? Do we know that?
Got it.
Thanks, Dave.
The big, brilliant, thin Samsung Infuse 4G. Only from the network of possibilities, AT&T.
Pelican Sports TV presents Pelican Radio. Get ready to mix it up with me, Tommy Kreisand, and Chris Landry, weekday afternoons from 3 to 4 p.m. Pro sports, college sports, high school sports, and much more. On the Score 1210 a.m. and on the internet at thescore1210.com.
40 years, 4 decades, nearly half a century. That's how long the citizens of Greater Baton Rouge have chosen Richards Honda. A simple, sincere, and honest process.
Louisiana's oldest and most experienced Honda dealership for over 40 years, Richards Honda.
LSU men's basketball looks for improvement. They need to improve. Hard to not get better based on what we've seen. The outlook is good. There's a lot of hope. And Coach Trent Johnson enters his 4th season as the head coach at LSU basketball. And he had media day a little over a week ago, and then several days ago I visited with him in his office. We've got some clips from both of these things for you. First thing we'll hear is from media day, an opening statement and practice so far by men's basketball coach Trent Johnson.
After 23 individual workout sessions of 40 minutes per session, obviously there's the NCAA allows us to have 13 team sessions where you can have your total team together starting September 15th, but prior to that we have them in groups of 3. We've been able to get a lot done, a lot accomplished. From a defensive standpoint, we've been able to put in our 1-3-1, 2-3 zone, obviously our man. And with this group, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to be able to pick up three-quarter court against certain teams, against certain people. And then offensively, fast break early, we've been able to put that in, introduce it. Obviously, we played a lot of motion when we were over in Italy. And then we got about 10 set plays, 10 set calls in, which had multiple variations of scoring opportunities. Press breakers, last year we were a team that didn't handle the ball very well versus three-quarter court press, full court. So obviously we're a lot better from a skill standpoint and from a standpoint of handling the basketball. So that's something we worked on. And then we have our late clock situations, late game situations, late clock situations. This group, so far up until this point, their attention to detail, their concentration level has been very, very, very good. Very good. So are we further ahead than we've been since I've been here? I would say that, and that's what you would expect with your nucleus of guys coming back that are either 2 or 3 year guys. So the freshmen are a little bit behind. They're doing a very, very good job of staying the course in terms of keeping their concentration level where it needs to be. Obviously, the speed of the game, the speed of practice, the physicality of the game, the physicality of practice, although we've only been out there for 40 minutes and 23 sessions, is a little different. But they're doing a good job. They do, all three of them, all three guys give us a level of athleticism, a level of quickness, and a level of size that we haven't had since actually my first year. So I'm real excited about this group. I'm really excited about us having the opportunity to go up and down against each other here pretty quick.
Trent Johnson practice, it's intense, upbeat, no breaks, forget about drinking water because you're going to be practicing the whole time as hard as you can, giving everything you got, but it's going to be worth it at the end of the day.
It's been great. We've been working really hard, and we're just really excited to start off the official practices and get it going.
Hard, intense. You know, no matter how long it is, he wants you to get your all for every minute. So
rough. We gonna run. We gonna get up and down. We gonna compete every second of practice.
So he pushes us to the extreme limit. It's very hardcore, and you know he doesn't take any prisoners. You know nobody is still breathing after practice. You know it's pretty hard.
Intense. To sum it up, is intense. Your expectations are high. It's a real intense environment, but it's real challenging and competitive. But at the end of the day, it's fun.
Very intense. You know, guys getting after each other. You know, very in depth and detailed. You know, a lot of defense. You know, a lot of talking. You know, it's just great. You know, everybody getting after each other. You know, confident. You know, just looking forward to this year.
This past summer, LSU basketball team went over to Italy on an NCAA-sanctioned trip where they were able to go over there, get in some practices, get in some games. Competition, a little hard to read, not always top-notch at times. Trent Johnson has done this before prior to his days as the LSU coach, but I asked him about the trip to Italy. What did this do for his team on and off the court? Here's Coach Johnson and some of the players talking about the trip to Italy earlier this summer.
Well, the benefits off the court were immeasurable, and anytime you can travel abroad and experience a different lifestyle, different culture, for me, it gives our kids, it gives us as Americans, it gives us an idea of how fortunate, how blessed we are. But the sole purpose of the trip was business and for us to become a better basketball team.
It was fun, bonded as a team, traveled together, ate together, lived together, went through that whole experience together, so it really just brought the team together. That's what really I think what the trip was for.
The trip overall was fun. It was a great experience. Everything was completely new and different.
Man, I think it's probably one of the best times of my life. I got to see, where the gladiators were shot at, a lot of big, sculptures and stuff. I think it was great, and it was great for us as a team, to come together, get to learn more about each other by being around each other for like a week straight, and just build more chemistry. And I think that's going to lead, to the court this year and have a good year this year.
I think for the most part, it was definitely a confidence builder. We played a couple games here and there, and we won them all. So I think that was definitely the reason why we came,
Because of the hard work we put in and the Italy trip, I feel like we've all grown together, and I think that we all have our goals on the same page.
And we were fortunate enough to practice 5 times in 2 days before we left. And then we had 6 games in 9 days over there, and we practiced every morning. So, with international rules, a 24-second shot clock, the game is faster paced. So one of the things that this team needed to do was be able to play faster, and guys individually make plays on their own. And when you speed the game up like that with a limited shot clock, it forces you into situations like that. There were 3 games on the back end of the trip where we were up 2 and down 6 at half and down 5 at half, and we had every opportunity to play like we played in the past, but our guys fought through and played to win and played with a level of aggressiveness. So it really helped us in that regard, and I fully expect us to show some benefits going into this season.
Trent Johnson's team this year has got some young players, some with experience, some with not. Here's some comments from Coach Johnson and the players on that topic.
I've often felt this, and I'm still in a quote from one of the greatest players ever, one of the greatest winners ever, and I happen to get to know him really well, and that's Bill Russell. And he said, experience doesn't mean a thing if you can play. And there's some truth to that, but in the sport of basketball now, these kids coming out of high school, they play so many games, whether it's AAU or in high school. A lot of these guys are playing like 160 games in 2.5 years. And obviously they have the flexibility to be able to go up and play against a lot of guys in the NBA. So experience doesn't mean a thing. What's the most important thing to me at this level of play is the sooner that individual is able to adjust to the speed and the quickness of the game and how physical it can be, and then the rigors of off the floor, academics and social. If you can balance that with time management, that's when the guys who are whether they're a freshman or a sophomore or a junior or senior, those are the ones that are more productive and maximize their potential.
I'm sure I can be a part of what we gonna do, and I'm probably gonna try to be the most loudest person out on the floor, try to be more vocal. And whenever I'm on the court, I'm gonna try to be the leader. I know I'm a freshman, but it's the one that's gonna lead this team, and I wanna be a part of that. Whether it's to the senior or to the freshman, whoever step up and take it, I'm gonna be a part of the leadership.
Just play hard, be a hard player. Just play hard and just work hard. I think everything else will work out itself.
Anthony Hickey, he's a great guard, also Mr. Kentucky. He's a quick guard. John Isaac, he bring a lot of, competitiveness. He's play good defense. He don't like when anyone scores on him, so that's great. And that makes everybody else pick their competitiveness even more. So we're looking forward to tomorrow, and looking forward to playing against those pro guys. And November 12th, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Tigers do open the season at home on November the 12th against Nicholls State, a team that beat them last year in the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. So that'll be part of a doubleheader and a homecoming weekend deal with basketball, and then of course LSU football hosting Western Kentucky that night, so that'll be part of that. We got some rapid fire here about some of the new players, some of the people that LSU basketball fans have got to get used to and learn about. First up, it's comments about Justin Hamilton, who transferred in here from Iowa State. Here are those comments now.
Yeah, I shoot, pass, rebound. I like playing defense. I come from a football family, so we like being aggressive. And I feel like I know a lot on the floor, and I'm like a floor general.
He can play the 4, I can play the 5. We both can play both roles, but yeah, I'm pretty much going to be the 4, and he's going to be the 5.
Well, Justin, obviously you can't coach 6'11", 250. And especially when he has good hands, he has a good feel, and he can score the ball. Justin is a man. He's been battle-tested. He's a 2-year starter at Iowa State in the Big 12, but we fully expect him to come in and have a huge impact, be our leading rebounder, if not our leading rebounder, and probably be in the top 2 or 3 in scoring. But what he enables us to do, obviously, is you put Storm and Malcolm back to their natural positions, and those guys don't have to play out of position in terms of going up against a guy who's 6'10" or 6'9". So it's been 2 years since I've had a true post, and like I said, one thing you can't coach is quickness and size, so we're nice to have him back.
It means that I've earned his trust, and I feel like that he speaks highly of me, and I think that's a good thing.
And next up, you got Coach Trent Johnson talking about a new guard, John Isaac, who will come in, and he'll be new to LSU basketball fans. Here's Coach Johnson on John Isaac.
John Isaac, as competitive as it gets. One of the first times I saw John was after my first year here, and I saw him play in a high school game, and I was so impressed with how hard he played. And I fully expect John to probably be one of the better defensive players that's played here before he enters his career. He's relentless, he's very competitive, and as soon as he adjusts to, the nuances of the collegiate game in terms of offensively and defensively, and he's going to be a special player. And we're very fortunate to have a guy like John.
Probably the most heralded newcomer to LSU basketball is Johnny O'Brien from Cleveland, Mississippi, a McDonald's All-American. We had tape of him for you back in the spring here on Tigers Roar, some tape from some high school action with him. He's a big guy, and he was asked, being a McDonald's All-American and the accolades he got, why did he decide to come to LSU? Here's the answer to that question and some comments by Coach Johnson and players about newcomer Johnny O'Brien.
Just dedication that Coach Scott and Coach Johnson showed to me. They was at a lot of my summer games, and 2 of my best friends go here. So
Johnny's a major league talent, extremely
extremely gifted. He is one probably more so than any of the other three freshmen. I know we'll talk about Anthony Hickey. He's the one that has to adjust to the speed of the game. Anytime you're 6'9", 255, you know, and used to everything being evolved around you, going through you, now he's another piece of the puzzle. So the sky is the limit for him, but, you know, the main thing for Johnny is learning how to play through every single possession, not taking possessions off, and you know, and this, like I said, continuing to be coachable. And if he does, he's going to be a special player. And he has a chance to be one of the best players that's played here. But again, you know, it's all about him learning how to compete on a daily possession and not taking possessions off.
Johnny O'Brien, he's a great player. You know, he's a big down All-American. You know, he's coming in with a lot of hype. You know, the things that he's been doing, he's been backing it up.
Just play hard. You know, be a hard player. I mean, just play hard and just work hard. I think everything else will work out itself.
Next player we want to talk about you, again, LSU men's basketball, Anthony Hickey. Here's some comments from Anthony as well as Coach Johnson about another newcomer to the program, Anthony Hickey.
Big transition for me is coming in as a freshman, being a big spurt, being the hype man, the clap man on and off the court, and just bringing the energy to the team.
It's point guard. Very fortunate to have a player like him and be able to get him late from Kentucky. Has a very, very good understanding, quick at the catch. You know, for him, you know, he's going to be thrown into the fire a lot sooner than those other two, just because those other two are in different positions. And you know, we all know in sport of basketball, the point guard is the toughest, most demanding position to play, much like the quarterback in football and so on and so forth. So Anthony's been real good up until this point, but he's the one guy that's going to enable us to play faster and pick up three-quarter forward, some full-court pressure, and also push the ball in transition.
I'm still learning right now from the senior point guard, Chris Bass and Andre Stringer. I'm still learning to get in my rhythm, and they teaching me the basics of a college level game, but I'm getting in rhythm and just making everybody better around me and knocking down open shots.
This year's schedule is a little bit different. 15 home games, again, opening up with Nicholls State on November 12th. Here's Coach Trent Johnson about the non-conference and conference schedule for his Tiger basketball team this season.
We have a very challenging non-conference schedule. Obviously, when you have the likes of Marquette coming to the Pete Mac, Virginia's coming here to play us. We're in a Charleston class that we're open up with Northwestern. So those are three teams that were in postseason last year. And then obviously, you know, playing Nicholls, playing North Texas State, a lot of teams that beat us last year in Coastal Carolina. It's a schedule that puts us in a position, if we take care of our business, we'll have a chance to really raise our RPI and our strength of schedule before we enter conference play. So it's going to be an exciting non-conference schedule. You know, on paper, Kentucky and, you know, Vanderbilt and Mississippi State and Alabama and Florida. But when I look at the league from top to bottom and look at the addition of the new coaches, Tennessee and obviously Mike Anderson back at Arkansas, I think from top to bottom it's going to be extremely challenging. We have the talent, we have the skill level to play in the top half. You know, it's a matter of us obviously remaining injury-free, but obviously when things get tough and there's some adversity, us being able to play through and stay together and stay the course. It's a grind, make no mistake about it, but the thing I like about this team, you know, for the last year and a half, there's nothing they haven't seen. So now we have a good balance of juniors, seniors, sophomores with some talented freshmen, and as opposed to worrying about conference play, we're going to be tested from non-conference up into conference. So if we can stay healthy and stay the course, we're going to have a chance to play our way into what everybody likes to play their way into, and that's the NCAA tournament at the end of the year.
Coach Trent Johnson certainly leads the pack on wanting to see improvement and wanting to have a better basketball team and have better results. I asked him the question, what can the fans, you the fans out there throughout South Louisiana and surrounding areas, what can you expect to see from this year's team? Here's an answer by Coach Johnson and some of his players.
Well, you're going to see a faster-paced team offensively. You're going to see a team that's capable of playing, slow, capable of playing fast, have some balance. Now we have the ability to score in the post with the likes of Justin and Storm and Johnny. Perimeter, obviously, with Ralston and Andre, who both had pretty successful freshman years in terms of shooting the ball. They're a year older. But, Anthony Hickey, and along with Chris Bass, is going to enable us to push the tempo a little bit. And then Eddie Ludwig's much improved, and now he's at his natural position. He's not underneath the basket banging, so we're putting him back at the 3. So it should be a much more balanced team. And from a defensive standpoint, very, very aggressive. I'm aggressive by nature, but for the first time since my first year, we have enough bodies, we have enough quickness, we have enough size and strength that we can go attack people and be physical and also be quick.
I see us making a tremendous change from the transition from the past 2 years into this year.
As long as we keep our hunger, everybody determined to win on this team. All our mindsets is based on one thing, and that's to win.
We all play all the positions, we rotate around, so I think it'll be good just having the depth where we can just rotate guys in and out.
We're very deep this year. We have a lot of guys, especially the freshmen, coming in, they're good. So I think the sky's the limit for us.
I don't like setting personal goals for myself, especially, but I just have one goal, and that's to win. As you can say it's a personal goal, or you can say it's a team goal, but that's at the end of the day, that's my goal, is to win.
We just a big family. Like we said, Coach Johnson's the head boss of our family. We try to all be brothers. We all brothers, and we all based upon the same thing, and that's mindset on winning. So we all got the same mindset, so we brothers, you might as well say.
Going into year 4, we thought we would be in a situation as a staff where this basketball team would be talented enough, big and strong enough to play away from home. And that's the next evolution in terms of having a combination of guys who are seniors, juniors, and sophomores who've been in the program. So I've always felt this. Good teams, good players. It doesn't matter where they play, when they play, and who they play. But the good teams, the good players, they're very good at being able to play at the same level, the same competition, at the same intensity on the road as they do at home.
Next little segment we have for you is kind of interesting and funny. As I mentioned to you, I taped a lot of that with Coach Johnson in his office a few days ago, and today I was with Lady Tiger basketball coach Nikki Caldwell, and at the end of both interviews I asked them both the same question, and you're going to see some similarities in their answer and find it quite entertaining. So in this segment, you're going to see both Trent Johnson and Nikki Caldwell answer this question, but then we'll have more Nikki Caldwell when we continue on the program. But check this part out. This is pretty cool.
Same old thing now. Like I said, I'll say it again. You can fry a sock and it tastes good now.
Food. You cannot beat the food.
I can go Tony Seafood. I can go Sullivan's. And the boudin balls are tremendous. I can go on and on. All I say is this. The only thing I don't eat, the only thing I don't like is macaroni and cheese. Everything else, I'm all about it. So
it's special when you're at a program and you're at an institution where everybody is very familiar with what this program has done, not only women's basketball, but baseball and football, volleyball, track and field, and it feels like home. And so I love the feeling that has been generated around this community.
But obviously here, it's home for me. The hospitality, the fan base, and how committed and how loyal they are is special. But in terms of food, you can't go wrong.
Obviously, both coaches liking this about the same thing about Baton Rouge. One been here 4 years, and Coach Caldwell only been here 6 months. When we come back, we'll speak to Brian Lazar of TigerBait.com, get the very latest on football. Then we'll roll right into Lady Tiger basketball and a whole lot more of Coach Nikki Caldwell. With NFL scout and Fox Sports football analyst Chris Landry, I am Tommy Kreisand. This is Tigers Roar on Pelican Sports TV, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans.